Welcome in to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio here for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. Beer coming to you from our studio on Veterans Memorial Boulevard, right next door to Matt Bauer's state-of-the-art Ford dealership on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned car, make sure you go check him out there, or one of his many other dealerships throughout the greater New Orleans region. Matt will get you right with the best car, best customer service, best car buying experience that you can find. Make sure you check out a Matt Bauer's dealership today if you are in the market for a car. All right, we got a show for you guys today. Alvin Kamara just signed his 2-year extension. We're going to break down what that means, what it means for the Saints, where the Saints are going, what they're going to do next, where their season exists, all of that and so much more right after this quick word from our sponsors. Oshner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to the Oshner Health Podcast Studio for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. He's Mike Triplett. There is a new contract on the books. Alvin Kamara signed a 2-year extension that will keep him here for 2 seasons beyond this one. This segment is presented by Aaron Rose. What do we think of that deal?
I mean, in a vacuum, I like the deal. I think Alvin's going to live up to that deal. I think we've seen Alvin living up to his deal this year. There's no question about how much he means to this team. What would this offense be without Alvin Kamara? There's so much he means to the franchise, the fan base, the everything, the heart of this team, as you wrote about. And if you're comparing it to other deals around the league, I don't mind paying him this price, especially when you're projecting into the future and the inflation that's going to come into salaries. All great. My only question is, should the Saints keep investing in core veterans on this roster in general right now when every sign points to this team needing to rebuild and reset the cap pretty soon? I guess no matter what direction the future holds for the Saints, having Alvin Kamara be a part of it isn't a bad thing. We're just talking about a total of $24 million over 2 years. It's not going to make or break them. So I'm a little conflicted, but I mean, having Alvin in the building, it would be so dispiriting to let him go next year. If you're not going all out, you keep Alvin.
Yeah, it's a big contract, though. I mean, it really is. It's just a notch below Saquon Barkley, fifth highest in the league. Saquon got $12.5 million. Alvin's coming in at rate at $12.25 million. It's definitely a good deal for him. I think it's a really good deal for him. I think he did a good job getting the money that he wanted to get. I think his agent did a great job negotiating this contract for him. They were talking in February at one set of numbers. The set of numbers that they got now is higher than the set of numbers they were talking about then. And that's kind of what happens. Christian McCaffrey signs an extension. Saquon signs that deal. Everything kind of goes up a little bit. Joe Mixon gets $9 million per year. Derrick Henry signs a contract. So a lot of stuff happened in that running back market. I think got inflated quite a bit. And even to an extent that you watch that Giant show, they weren't expecting him to be able to go out and get $12.5 million per year. So there was just kind of a boom there, which kind of makes sense when you look at where the league is now. The spread out, throw it on the field, it's dead. Like, it really is. Like, you watch games and they're completely different than they were 2 years ago. It's back to kind of more like running the ball, smash mouth football, good defense, hard to get yards. That kind of puts a value back on running backs a little bit. It's a good deal for him, though. It definitely is. He really did bet on himself here. And he brought it into the final year of it, walks out of minicamp, shows up for training camp, just kind of goes to work, plays through broken ribs, plays through a hip pointer, plays through a fractured hand, just keeps showing up, showing that he's going to do it, that he can do it, and he eventually gets paid. I think it's interesting, though, in the macro sense of things, that as we sit around outside and talk about, are they going to tear it down? Are they going to rebuild?
That's not how they talk.
Are they going to start over? Is it time to look at the draft stock? I mean, since then, all they've done is they signed a wide receiver that's going to help them possibly win more games, and then they signed Alvin to an extension. They aren't coming up to an end of the road at all. They don't see the end of the road. They're going to keep going with this. They're keeping their players together. They're going to try to add to it, and they're going to try to win again next year. They aren't starting over. They don't care about the $80 million over the cap graphic that's going around. This is the path they're on. And whether or not we agree with it or not, that's where they're existing and that's where they're going. Either way, I think it's good to keep him around. I think he deserves it. Kendrick Miller didn't take his spot. So yeah, I mean, this is where it's at. And look, if you're bringing somebody in, a coach or whatever, at least he's somebody that, if you were starting over, and again, I don't think they are at all. Right. I think I wrote 2 weeks ago that it was more likely that AK signs an extension than the coach gets replaced. And they signed the extension. I don't, we'll see what happens with the season, but their actions are telling us that they believe it's an injury problem, not a coaching problem, not a talent problem. They believe in their building. Those are the issues. And this kind of emboldens that. Like, it just supports that thought. And that's kind of how we've thought they were thinking about it. And this to me says it. Mickey Loomis said a couple of weeks ago, they're looking beyond the results. This signing tells me that they aren't looking at it as the end of the road, that this hasn't worked, this has failed. I think they look at it as, we haven't been able to reach our potential because of the injuries. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, look, I still think they got to win games and everything down the stretch to kind of keep going that way. But as it sits now, the panic that exists outside of their building, the panic that we have talked with here, that fans talk with on social media, that is not existing in their building.
Yeah, look, Alvin Kamara definitely won this negotiation for a couple of different reasons. I mean, not only did he end up getting more money and getting paid near the top of the running back market, he now gets some security. He is going out there breaking a new body part every week for this team. if the Saints were being cold and calculated and heartless, they should wait and see how Alvin Kamara makes it through this season before they pay him. That'd be the mean way to do it, the unfair way to do it. But teams operate that way all the time. It's a little surprising. The Saints are invested and running him into the ground at the same time.
I think he
so.
called
I hope
their
they
bluff.
have a better plan. Yeah,
I think he called their
Yeah.
bluff, though. I think they were trying to play it like that, and he said, "Okay, then we aren't talking anymore." And they did stop talking for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, "You know what? I'm just going to go out here and play every week, and then, I'll hit the market and leave." I think he called their bluff
Yeah.
and kind of won.
yeah, without question.
Yeah. And look, I'm not saying the team lost here or anything. I just think, as I looked when I seen that contract, I was like, "Oh, damn, he did it." And I don't know, he started down and did it. I was kind of, I was impressed by it. Not a lot of people kind of are willing to do that, especially at his position. And then you do start getting hurt, and a lot of people would probably panic. He didn't care. Like, I'm just going to keep playing. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep showing people that I can run. When you open up a hole, I'm going to hit it.
Yeah.
I know there's some conversation about where he exists in his career. 3.9 yards per carry again. I think if you're doing more than box score scouting, you kind of see that doesn't seem. I don't know. I feel like that's a dishonest conversation to just kind of like, dude, there's no healthy offensive lineman. Like, what do you want him to do? So when those are open, like, you see the quickness and the burst. I was watching a video, the dude does the QB school, and all his videos are about the quarterbacks, and he's like stopping, like every time he does one, he zips through the runs.
Yeah.
Saints game, like he stops, he's like, "Oh my God, look at Alvin, look at how quick he is. He's moving like it's 2018. Like, this is incredible. How did he turn back the clock?" Like, so, I mean, it's there, and people see it. I think if they block better, he'll have better
No, I agree
numbers.
with
Like,
that. We saw that.
absolutely already
We saw that in the first 2 weeks
Yeah.
for sure.
against bad teams, but yeah.
Right, but
Yeah, it's a huge problem. You have replacement offensive linemen out there. It's a huge problem.
he's better. He's better than 98% of all alternatives at that position. Still,
I respect the hell out of this. So,
Yeah.
like, they tried to replace him.
Yeah.
He beat out that guy.
Yeah.
He gets paid. He gets to finish his career here probably if he wants. We'll see where it goes beyond this. But, he might, who knows? There might still be mileage left at the end of it. But, I kind of thought when they drafted Kendra, I thought it was dumb for him. And that's kind of what it was. Like, I kind of figured, okay, young guy comes in. They're going to try to usher in the new era. It's going to be like Alvin taking over from Mark Ingram. And, like, he won, man.
the other interesting element of this is Alvin's a truth teller. It often comes across as Alvin's like down on the team or the state of the team or the direction of the team. As he puts it, he goes, "I know I always come across as a negative Nancy." I mean, this speaks louder than words, though, about his buy-in. I mean, he was 3 months away from being free if he didn't want to be a part of this organization. He's committing to the organization as well. He's going to continue to be a leader for this organization. He's obviously showing buy-in by staying here. Can that help?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think even last year when he seemed the most bothered by everything that was going on, and he was given, the press conferences and all that. Like, you would go watch the games, and he was playing harder than everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that ever wavered.
I agree
at all. So, yeah, I mean, I think it can definitely help. Like, people see, good players get rewarded, and that always helps. Like, you don't want to see good people not get rewarded. But as far as the buy-in and everything, like, team-wide, I think they just really have to win games.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. If you lose this week to the Chargers and you lose to the Panthers, like, the buy-in's probably not going to be there anymore. So even if this gets you like a little bit of goodwill or whatever in the locker room, hey, they took care of AK, and I think he's somebody that's incredibly influential in that room. Like, people notice that, and it does matter. But I do think that you ultimately have to win. Like, Cam can say whatever, DeMario can say whatever, AK can say whatever, Tyron can say whatever. At the end of the day, like, if you're losing every game, like, that stuff goes sour at a certain point.
Yep.
So, and I think they're very close to it. But yeah, I mean, I think that this kind of represents a different feeling from inside what the locker room pulse is versus what the outside pulse is. And I think it's kind of a clear indication that, it's not as bad as it seems. The lip readers that were trying to say that he was telling Sean Payton to come and get him, like, that was never true. Like, they've been working on this for about 2 weeks now. It opened up about 2 weeks ago. They've been talking. they kind of reached a point. I know that there was a little bit of a standoff over the final numbers, and then ultimately they met at a spot where it was comfortable for everyone. But it isn't like this just like popped up like out of nowhere. This is something that I thought it was going to get done before the Thursday night game, and it didn't, and then it got done, a couple days later. So it's been talking on the cusp, kind of close, not close, close, not close. They reopened talks after they shut him down for a minute. But yeah, this wasn't like a sudden thing. He wasn't looking to get out. Like it's not like, oh no, he's going to go join Sean Payton, we better sign him. Like, no, that isn't like how any of this played out at all. So, yeah, no, it definitely indicates there's a slightly different pulse in the locker room than there is on the outside, which is kind of interesting to find out a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's definitely notable.
Yep. All right, moving on to the next topic presented by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. A lot of guys look like they're going to be coming back from injury this week. Taysom Hill looks like he's going to be back. Chris Olave should be back. Pete Werner, I heard, is expected to be back. Lucas Patrick, I heard, is expected to be back. I think we're going to see Cesar Ruiz when we go out there and look at practice today. That's a lot of guys, 5 starters. 5 guys coming back. What do we think it does?
And Derek Carr is not out of the question. I think we're a week away for Derek Carr, but everything we know about him is that he's going to try as hard as he can to force them into a decision this week. I mean, if you get those 5 guys back and Spencer Rattler is still starting at quarterback, it's still a high degree of difficulty to win this game. But I mean, those guys are so incredibly pivotal. We saw the team go into total collapse without them. Now I think the Saints can go back to being a functioning middle-of-the-road type team with a 50% chance of winning games against other struggling teams. Can they be that without Derek Carr, with an injured Derek Carr already at the Chargers? I don't know, but, am I going to predict them to win against Carolina if all these guys are back by then? Yes. So they exist somewhere. There's a lot of Carolina-type teams on the remaining of the schedule. It just feels a little too late, but if they could I just want to see this team at least start by getting competitive again. I mean, those are huge names. Olave, Ruiz, Werner. Those are position groups
Taysom.
And players. Yeah, Taysom that have just totally been derailing this team in recent weeks.
Yeah, I can't pick them to win no matter. Like, it's just I got to see it. I got to see what they can do, but it can only help. Like, maybe Spencer Rattler has more of a chance with some help out there. He didn't have NFL caliber.
And I'd like to see that too. I'd like to see a fair shake to see what Spencer Rattler looks like.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's like, let's find out.
Yeah.
Look, I think he's done some things outside of, like, beyond being able to point it and say, like, there's no help here and these bad things happen. I think he's made some bad things independent of everything else. But I also think that he's been in some situations where it's been hard to succeed. So let's just see what it looks like when it can calm down a little bit. There's a little bit more faith in the blocking, where there's guys that can run routes and catch passes and help him out there a little bit. And if you're in a game that's at least able to be closer, maybe you have a chance to win. But I mean, they're 7.5-point dogs for a reason. And that's a huge number too in and of itself. So I don't know. I mean, the Chargers have played a lot of close games. You tell me these guys are back, I feel like maybe there's a puncher's chance. Whereas if they're not playing, I think you have no chance at all. But yeah, I just want to see. I want to see Rattler in this one. I want to see them look good, feel like they're heading towards something. And then, lo and behold, Derek Carr actually really matters. Like, go figure. The starting quarterback, one of the top 20 guys in the league. Like, they're hard to find. Most, they're hard to get. So he makes a huge difference. But I want to see what Rattler can do, and I want him to kind of end this with feeling like there's something there.
Yeah.
And I still think there's something there. I still think there's potential, but I want it to be just kind of in your face a little bit. And I don't think he's had the opportunity to show that. So
I agree with
maybe
that.
they will now. Moving on to the next topic presented by Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union. Paulson Adebo is out. What does that do to the secondary going forward?
Well, we have said a number of times that's the one position where they could most afford an injury, quote unquote, or most afford, if they were going to trade a player or something like that, because they drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry in the second round. And he's shown flashes of being really good. And obviously Alante Taylor has been arguably the defensive MVP this season and been playing great. Now Alante Taylor is going to go from playing 80% of the snaps or whatever it is to 100% of the snaps. Dennis Allen even laid it out which is what we would have guessed, that Alante will start on the outside when they're in base. When they're in nickel, Alante will go back to nickel, but when they're in base, he'll be on the field for every snap. And I feel good about that. I feel like going from Adebo to Alante is not the way Adebo was playing this year and the way Alante was playing this year. It's not a downgrade. And then now Kool-Aid McKinstry becomes something of a question mark, but I kind of like him being on the outside. I'd have a bigger question mark on him playing on the inside. I think that's absorbable. I mean, you can't absorb 11 injuries all at once on your team. Paulson Adebo was playing great last year, good but inconsistent this year. So I'm not going to dismiss it, but I feel better about their backup plan there than anywhere else on the roster.
Yeah, I agree with you. The 1-for-1, I'm not worried about it. Is the sum of the three now better or worse than the other? Possibly. Like, I think that's all I'm kind of finding out what Kool-Aid can do. Yeah. The thing that I think is interesting about this is that, obviously last season they were willing to trade Marshawn. Marshawn was willing to get traded. If you come back to it at the end of the season and you're still willing to get rid of him and he's still willing to go, at least now you're going to know what you're dealing with going into the future. You aren't making a blind deal at this point, because you're going to see Alante on the outside and you're going to see Kool-Aid on the outside. And if you got rid of Lattimore, those presumably would be their positions, and you go look for a slot cornerback. So you're going to know exactly what you're holding in your hand at the end of this. And I think there's value in having that information, because if they play great, like, definitely reallocate your resources somewhere. Like, you need all kinds of defensive linemen. You need guys at safety, probably. You need linebackers. You need offensive linemen. These are high-value positions. If you can cash out on a cornerback because you're good enough there and move that asset somewhere else, and then, bring in your depth, because you do a really good job of scouting backup cornerbacks. That's one thing you really have done well as an organization. So if you can kind of fill that out cheap and maybe not go cheap at these other positions and just reallocate the deck a little bit, I think that helps. But you're definitely more emboldened to make that move if you know that you have the two guys there, and then all of a sudden he becomes a luxury. And then you're also dealing from a position of strength then at that point, because you have, so it's not necessarily so much that like you have to do this, it's something you want to do. And I think that changes negotiations a little bit. So it's a big loss. So like you definitely, now you're one injury away from getting into something deeper. And then Marshawn already had the hamstring. Sure. I'm high on Rico Payton's potential, but
would be a much bigger.
Don't feel great. Don't feel great about that. If we have to find out what it is, like, I'm not sitting here being like, yeah, it'll be fine. Like, that's oh God, like, we're gonna have to see what this is gonna be. No disrespect to Rico, like, we just don't know what he can do yet. So we're about to find that out about the cornerback. So we're gonna take a quick break here. We'll be right back on the other side of this with the rest of the show. Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable. And they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Saints Saints score! Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
Hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that silky smooth finish or prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every single time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code NewOrleans, that's one word, New Orleans, for 20% off and free shipping.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, the crown jewel of entertainment destinations. From the thrill of gaming, where every spin and deal brings you closer to fortune, to the excitement of sports betting, where you can feel the rush of victory. Our spaces and catering menu are perfect for any event. From business meetings to grand celebrations, immerse yourself in our vibrant atmosphere with live music that keeps the party going all night long. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back to the Ochsner Health Podcast Studio for the last leg of the NewOrleans.Football show presented by PJ's Coffee. We're coming to you from our studio next door to my guy, Matt Bauer, state-of-the-art Ford dealership up here on Vets. Saints play the Chargers, 7.5-point dogs. If they get to 3-5, does that change the outlook of the season a little bit? Or, you know, are you partying at Urban South to party the wins, or are you going there to drink away some of the sorrows? And this topic, of course, is presented by them.
I like going to Urban South.
Great place, man. Great place to watch a game.
I hate myself for saying this, but yes, it changes the outlook of the season. If they can win at the Chargers, if they could just win, if they could remind us what a damn win looks like, that changes the outlook of the season, because right now it feels like they're going to finish 2-15 the way the last two games evolved into a disaster. So show me what this team looks like when it's functioning well enough to win a game. But then if you also win a game against a good, solid opponent on the road that will require some run defense, which you haven't shown all season, now you're 3-5, and you're going to play a Carolina team that sure looks like the worst team in the NFL right now. Them or the Patriots. And then you could be 4-5. And if you're 4-5 and you're healthy and Derek Carr's back and all those guys we listed in the previous segment are back, then you have a season. I mean, all you got to do is catch Tampa Bay, and unfortunately they just lost Chris Godwin. So look, I hate that I just said all those things, but those are all true things. I don't believe in it. I don't think the Saints are going to finish 8-2 and be a 10-win team. I don't even think the Saints can finish 7-3 and be a 9-win team that wins the NFC South. But if they are a 4-5 team that's healthy and has won 2 games in a row, then yeah, we're talking about real things again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Saints' biggest problem is that their roster just hasn't earned the benefit of like anything. You know, like there's no proof with it. Like you look at the 49ers right now, and what are they? They're 3-4. Let's say they were 3-5 or whatever. Like you would still feel the same way about them at that point. They're a team that their potential's been earned. It's not potential, like it's known. It's a known commodity. You believe in it, and you look at them and you say, oh man, they got decimated by injuries. If they find a way to get in, they're going to be scary. Like the Saints haven't earned any of that yet. They gave us a glimpse in weeks 1, week 2. And I'll go as far as saying week 3, week 4. Like, I think the
I
first
agree.
4
I
weeks,
felt really good about this team after 4 weeks.
but like it wasn't enough to believe in it, and they still hadn't shown us they found a way to win. Like, if you did shown us you found a way to win, if you won another game, I think if they had 3 wins right now, I would feel different about their season. Like, that one game does make a difference, but they haven't earned that potential, and we don't know what they can be. And then the other part of that is their defense, like, just has not been good enough, and
that's the most disturbing part of the whole formula, because that's not even injury related. I mean, I like Pete Werner, but Pete Werner isn't the difference between having a top 10 defense and having the number 32 defense. Their defense has been one of the worst units on either side of the ball in the entire NFL over the last 2 weeks. I mean, what happened against Tampa Bay and against Denver is like embarrassing, soul crushing.
Yeah,
tear it all down mode. Now they're probably not that bad, but that wasn't because Cesar Ruiz, Lucas Patrick, Derek Carr, and Chris Olave were out. That is a real disturbing sign that this defense is not what it used to be.
What's the rest of the? So they got Chargers, Carolina, Falcons, and then is it the bye after that?
Cleveland at home.
Cleveland, and then the bye.
Another easy, and then the bye. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they're in it, Cleveland might be better without Deshaun.
Yeah.
Like, weirdly
true.
enough.
It's true.
Boy, what a terrible signing. Like, if they're within a game of 500 at the bye, like, I feel okay. I feel okay about what they could maybe. Obviously you got to see where the rest of the conference is, but if they're within a game of 500 at the bye, I think the conversation obviously shifts a little bit. But that's a huge task, and like I was saying, like, they haven't earned anything yet. I got to see it, so I don't believe they're going to do it right now. It feels like a low point. I feel like their defense has to figure a lot of stuff out. They got to prove it to everybody, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility that these injuries are a reason instead of an excuse. They actually might be a reason, and we're going to find out. That's their job to prove it. And really, if DA stays, if Kubiak stays, if everything stays in place, they're going to have to prove that over the rest of this thing. And if that's what they are, that won't be a problem. Like, they'll be able to do it. And if they don't, then we know, and then it's time to do something else. But, if they're going to let it ride out, they're going to try to keep building this roster out. You got to do it. But I will say, if you lose to the Chargers and you lose to the Panthers, that's where the conversation is shifted then at that point. There's no like, well, let's see what, like, I think these next 2 games are incredibly critical. You have built-in excuses to lose the Chargers game. So fine. But if you lose to the Panthers, like, man, I don't know what I'll come on here saying at that point. Like, it feels
if they
like,
lose to the Chargers, the conversation stays the same.
Yeah.
If they beat the Chargers, it's like, you said it well. Are the injuries actually a reason and not an excuse? If they lose to the Panthers, the conversation changes.
Yeah, it's over at that point, because Derek Carr is going to be back. You're going to lose. If you lose that game, like, yeah, I mean, you just can't. And then you got the Atlanta invasion on the 10th. Like, all those tickets will be for sale for super cheap, and you're in huge, huge trouble at that point. So you just can't let that happen. All right. Moving on to the Martin's question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of bourbons, whiskeys, so much more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. Make sure you go check out their deli. They got great sandwiches there as well. As the Saints head into the final stretch of the pre-trade deadline period, who are realistic trade candidates if the Saints sell or buy?
I would think don't sell. I mean, don't buy. But if they continue along the path that we've seen, like with the Alvin Kamara extension, the offensive line is still a candidate. I tried searching for who's out there, who's being talked about. The only name I came up with was Walker Little from the Jacksonville Jaguars, an offensive tackle who's still 25 years old, started for them last year, but then now is playing behind veterans. If they added a guy like that and they didn't pay a lot for him and they envisioned him maybe being part of next year's team too, that sounds reasonable. I mean, obviously they went after Devontae Adams. I don't think that means they were necessarily in the Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins market. I think Adams was sort of a special case. It's an area that wouldn't shock me if they looked at it. I don't want to see any major investments in these positions, though. I mean, I've seen a couple of people talking about Max Crosby. I know you would love it if Max Crosby showed up as a Saint, because he'd immediately be one of their best players. But
that'd be a great trade. Like, if you're going to do it, like, get a guy that's young and going to be part of your core forever. I'd be willing to invest a lot.
If it's more than just about this season, that's what makes it realistic.
I would be willing to invest a lot in him. Look, honestly, like, not what I think they should do, what I think they will do.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be buyers. If anything, I don't think they're selling. I think they're looking to buy. I think I think they're making calls as we're sitting here right now, trying to acquire more talent.
What if they lose to the Chargers? Do they have to stop making those
I don't
calls?
think if they lose the Chargers, no, I don't think that changes anything. They'll just be more emboldened, I think at that point. If they lose both, then I think the conversation shifts. At that point, there's no talking yourself into anything. Like, it's probably over. It's time to move on. And I think they start selling maybe some assets off at that point. But I think that they believe that they have a team that they can build around and be good next year. Like, I'm telling you, that's what I think they think. Like, and I think that's how they're going to act. And I think, if we saw a trade for somebody today, I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. Like, I think that's the path that they're on. I think they're going to keep trying to add to this roster.
I'd feel a lot better about it if it was somebody that was supposed to be a part of next year's team too. That's a different conversation.
Yeah. But I think they're trying to do both.
Did the question say sellers as well? If the Saints sell or buy?
Yeah.
It's funny. We were talking about Marshawn Lattimore and Paulson Adebo as possibly guys that you would sell if you were selling. Before Adebo got hurt. It's less of a luxury now. I still never stop having the Marshawn Lattimore conversations if I'm the Saints. I mean, he's due $18 million next year, $18.5 million the year after that. Somebody else could spend that money on him instead of you while you're catching up on the cap, and he could actually give you, like, if I'm a contending NFL team, I give a second for Marshawn. It turns into a late second. Like, I can't believe those teams don't want to pay that after what he's put back on film again this year. So I'm still having those conversations if I'm them. But again, what we know about this team, what we've heard about this team, and now what we've seen from this team this week, they don't feel like they're sellers. So I'd be pretty shocked by that too.
I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think they are. Look, I think the more people press on it, the more dug in they get on their position. Like, I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to do it, honestly. Like, I don't see it. I don't see a trade happening. I think they're trying to win. I think they think they can win next year. I really do. And, I would be, if I was running the team, I would be making the calls on my, seeing what's out there for my guys as well. But I don't think that's what they're doing. I think they're looking to try to win. I really do. I mean, that's just my feel of it.
The trade deadline is 2 days after the Panthers game. So,
yeah, a lot could change. You lose both those. Like I said, I think you have to at that point. But as it sits now, I don't think the Chargers game impacts anything. Could be wrong, but we'll see. Their moves to this point, says that they're trying to build this team and build it out for next year to be competitive again next year and try to make the playoffs. That's going to do it for the regular portion of this show. If you are a member to NewOrleans.Football, we're going to keep it rolling into overtime. You sign up for the site, go to NewOrleans.Football/subscribe. Sign up, get overtime, all the analysis, and everything we do. Extra podcasts every week, all that. So sign up for the site if you haven't done that yet. Overtime's next for members.